Hi, everyone, and welcome to week 2 of Advanced Composition for Future Teachers. I hope you guys are having a great week so far. It's Monday, and I just wanted to check in with you. Thank all of you that have turned in your blog or vlog from last week. It was due last Friday at midnight. All the vlogs will be due on Fridays by midnight. So that makes the schedule kind of easy. So last week we did theoretical foundations, and this week we're moving on to Jennie Nelson's work, Reading Classrooms as Text. So the article that you're being introduced to today is one of my favorites. It's not really new anymore, but I think it's still substantial and useful when it comes to pedagogy or andragogy regarding teaching writing and reading in classrooms. So I was actually introduced to this article in a grad seminar quite a bit ago, and it's always kind of stayed with me, and I've always liked the ideas that Jennie Nelson is presenting. She does a lot of things in this article, but the thing that has always kind of stayed with me is this idea of the professional student. The students come in and they have kind of an idea of how a classroom runs, and they're looking to figure out how to get the grade that they want in the class. So they're trying to read the teacher, read the classroom like a text, as the title insinuates, to try to get clues for what they're supposed to do. And Nelson has a lot to say about this. And we know that this isn't always a bad thing. It's good that students kind of come in and they've become professionalized on a certain level. They know how to do certain things within the classroom, and that helps them a lot. But she also talks about how this professionalization can also be detrimental to students. She talks a lot about how they have moved away from the idea of process and they've moved into this product. Well, how do I create the things that I want in order to get this thing that I want? And I always kind of associate it back to this idea of like an ATM. Students sometimes can come into a classroom like it's a transaction action. I go to the ATM, I put the pin in, I get the money out, I get what I want, I get my receipt, and I leave. And what we have found, and what I have found over the years to substantiate Nelson's findings, is that really it's the process that students take with them that's super valuable, not the product. So although students turn in a paper and the paper is important and everybody's concerned about the grade on the paper, really the paper doesn't usually transcend with students. What transcends is the process. What did they engage in the process? Did they have revision? Did they do brainstorming? Do they know the difference between editing and revision, right? Like, what is the process? If you can help students to understand the process and you can get them to engage in the process, one, I found that the product is better. And two, I found that that process goes with them on, right? They call that a lot in today's, theoretical lens, transference, right? The students can take the information and transfer it and use it in another way. And sometimes students can't take content, but they can take processes, right, and practices. And then that's what becomes really useful for students. So you can tell I'm passionate about this. I have loved this article for years. Nelson does a lot of case studies where you get to learn how she works with students. I think that's super important to kind of understand. And there's a lot more in this article. That's just the thing that I really love about it. So I'm hoping that you can take a look at this article by Jennie Nelson and think about a couple different things maybe. And you do not have to answer all these questions. These are me just throwing out some ideas to you. You could think about yourself as a student and how some of the things that she's done within the article relate to you. You could also think about how you could use her ideas within your own teaching practices, right? And I know that I end up having students from a lot of different interests, right? So some of you will be thinking about high school, and some will be teaching elementary school and the littles, right? And then some of you will maybe go on for a PhD and teach college. So If you were thinking about writing practices, I think a lot of times the ideas that Nelson is bringing up in this article can be transferred. For example, revision is something that can be used at all grade levels, right? Which is very different from the editing practices, right? Of just going over and checking and spell checking and looking for correctness. Correctness is valuable and we care, but it's not as valuable to a student as revision, right? Where they get to re-envision or rethink what they've said. And revision is a hard thing for students. They don't really like to do it. We kind of like to be one and done, right? You write it, you're done. But really, really deeper thinking usually comes from a second run at something, or when you add new material to make that different. But really, this concept of revision can be done throughout, all grade levels. So you could look at this material and think about, well, how can I relate this to my own teaching? Where could this be valuable? What could be interesting about it? Another thing you could do is go back and connect it to theoretical foundations, right? That we read last week, which, one of my favorite ideas in theoretical foundations is the idea of choice and giving students, some level of autonomy within the classroom, which I think is super important. And I think that ties in with this idea of process with Nelson, right? You've got to engage the students. And if you don't engage them, and if the material is not interesting, or you can't find a way for them to connect to it, you're going to have a really hard time getting them to want to, engage in this process, right? It's kind of a hand-in-hand situation. So those are some thoughts, and please, those are not the only thoughts regarding these articles. They're both pretty thick, or, have a lot in them. So there's many other roads that you can take, and I really want you to feel free to investigate areas that are interesting to you and that you find valuable as a reflective tool within your classrooms, that yourself as a learner, and then how you can take them into the classroom that you want to create. Excuse me, sorry, I didn't mean to cough. Well, I hope this is helpful to you and that it leads you and guides you into the material. I just want to remind you that you should try to use quotes and direct quote if you're lifting material from the text exactly. And you should still even cite if you're paraphrasing, even within these blogs and vlogs. That's super important that you at least give a nod to it. MLA and APA are fine. And then, of course, we're not there yet. We're only 2 weeks in, but coming up in September, you'll be able to respond more in depth in a micro theme, which is the 4-page paper. And you can spend more time really developing these ideas and really analyzing them. So I always expect even these little blog vlogs to have some analysis, looking at the text and trying to figure out what it's saying. And then, also some connections, either ways that you're reflecting to it. So that's the idea, and hopefully you're doing well and staying healthy. And if there's anything I can do to help or assist you in any way, please let me know. It's great to talk to you via video, and I will be available this afternoon if you need me, or anytime, just reach out. I know that everyone's got different schedules and we're in this asynchronous class. So I try to get back within 24 hours to the email. So I'm hoping you have a great day, and I'll talk with you soon. Bye-bye.